They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. But what if your eyes aren't just looking out? What if they're a filter, cursed to see only the smoke, never the fire? The world we live in is loud, busy, and painfully bright. But for Elias, it wasn't the noise that got to him. It was the weight, the crushing, silent weight of seeing too much. Elias lived a life that was, by all accounts, perfectly normal. A small apartment, a job in tech support, the predictable rhythm of a city commute. But for him, normal was a lie. His vision, it was ordinary in its physics, but terrifying in its focus. He didn't just see people, he saw their ghosts. Not literal specters, but the deep, invisible scars of human existence. On the subway, he didn't see a tired mother. He saw the sleepless nights, the unpaid bills, the silent, mounting fear that she was failing. He didn't see a couple laughing. He saw the forced brightness covering a years-old betrayal, a hairline fracture in their foundation. Every glance was a download of despair, a constant, relentless feed of the world's misery. The accumulation was the killer. It was like living with a soundtrack of grief that only he could hear, a constant psychic drone. He tried to fight it. He'd look away, focus on a brick wall, or stare at his worn-out sneakers. But the darkness had a gravity all its own. He noticed that every positive headline was immediately buried by 10 devastating ones. Every moment of genuine joy he witnessed felt flimsy, ephemeral, a thin layer of ice over a freezing, deep lake. Eventually, it wasn't just what he saw. It started to feel like what he knew. A profound, sickening certainty that the default state of humanity was suffering. This conviction began to freeze him. His laughter became polite, distant. His empathy, once a wellspring, turned into a weary, heavy coat he couldn't take off. How do you remain warm when your soul is constantly exposed to the chill of the world's despair? Elias started to wonder if perhaps this wasn't a curse at all. Perhaps this was just the truth. A terrible, unfiltered clarity that everyone else was too cowardly or too blessed to recognize. The conflict wasn't out there. It was in here, in the echo chamber of his own mind. Was the world irrevocably broken? Was hope a fairy tale sold to the naive? Or was he the one who was broken? Was his own fear and exhaustion creating a lens that magnified the bad until it eclipsed everything else? The darkness he saw was so loud it was a scream. It drowned out any softer sound, any whisper of kindness, any quiet act of persistence. One Tuesday, on a particularly heavy afternoon, Elias sat in a small park. He was ready to surrender to the cold, paralyzing certainty that it was all meaningless. He glanced up, his eyes immediately locking onto a young man hunched over a bench, texting with the furious energy of deep, agonizing loneliness. See? His mind whispered, only the pain. But just as he was sinking, his focus shifted, almost by accident. He saw two elderly women sharing a bench. One was helping the other put on a pair of gloves, adjusting the cuff with a tenderness that was utterly unperformed. There was no grand drama, no flashing headline, just a quiet, utterly routine gesture of care. For the first time in months, the scream of the darkness didn't drown out the sound of this small, gentle exchange. It was a tiny, persistent hum, the wildflower in the pavement. He didn't suddenly see a world cured of its ills. The woman's face still held the faint lines of past struggles. The man still sat alone. But the genuine warmth of the shared moment, the simple, unburdened kindness was undeniably real. It hadn't fixed the world, but it had created a tiny pocket of light within it. Elias didn't walk away a changed man, cured of his curse. But he walked away with a new task. The weight of seeing too much darkness will always be there. But maybe, just maybe, the antidote wasn't to look away, but to learn to listen for the whispers. The low hum of human resilience. The quiet, persistent acts of grace. The world wasn't suddenly perfect. But he realized that the hope wasn't found in the absence of despair. It was found in the sheer, stubborn, beautiful fact that the good parts keep happening anyway. They are often untelevised, unshared, and unseen. And maybe all this time the true burden wasn't the seeing. It was the selective listening. And now, finally, Elias was ready to tune in to the quieter song.